All right guys, we're back and we're dealing with air conditioning again. That's kind of where we left off the last episode. It was like a big unknown, and I think I may have found a solution. Let's take a look real quick. So I bought this universal AC compressor online, and I found a bracket for it. And I was like, this is great. This can bolt. I was like visualizing it in my head, and I was like, this could in theory bolt to our engine. And then this plate could then bolt to the compressor, and then we just gotta kind of deal with belts. So to mock it up here, just to kind of show you guys, it could totally live right there. If I pull off these screws, drill some holes, it could pretty much just bolt right there, and it's pretty much lined up perfectly. Now, the biggest issue that we're having here is the bottom of this belt needs to go up to here. And the path is gonna be, the two backs of the belts are gonna hit right here. Another problem, aside from that, which is huge already, is that this alternator doesn't have a very tight wound band around this pulley. It needs to be, like, look at it, more than 50% of it needs to be covered. And if this wrapped over to here, it would take out most of the surface area, and it might just spin the alternator, and then the alternator won't charge. So there's a lot of things going on here. I mean, I could make pulleys and I could make things to do things, and it just seems way too complicated. So like I had said on the last episode, this was purchased on Amazon, and I haven't messed it up yet. It's still in perfect condition. I think I'm just gonna return this. And let me show you what my plan is, because I have to have air conditioning. It's LA, it's hot, it's a daily driver. This is my solution, possibly. What this is a really cheap Chinese-made AC compressor, and it's electric. Now, I was looking online for higher quality versions of this, because I was like, well, if there's like the Alibaba version available, maybe there's better versions available. And I really came up dry. I came up with nothing. So I'm gonna take this out of the box, and I'm gonna show you guys what this all entails. So I'm gonna give this a try. I'm not certain that this is even gonna work, but what this is, it's a remote mount, so you can bolt this anywhere. It's probably gonna live on like a frame rail underneath the intake manifold. So I'm assuming that it's gonna end up probably something like this on the frame rail. And if you can kind of visualize that, there's the high pressure and the low pressure. It'll come down from the firewall straight in, and then it'll go to the condenser around and to here through the AC dryer and all that. And this, like, conceptually, this is gonna be really good. Also, the S2000 has a really small cabin, and that's to my advantage. If we were trying to like cool a VW bus or something like that, I could see this probably wouldn't work. It may, but I doubt it, right? This has a lot better chance of working in our tiny little cabin of the S2000. So I wanna give this a try. I asked a lot of people online, like, have you used these before? Do you know anything about them? And everybody's just like, give it a go. I want to see you use it, because if it works, I'm interested. So, like I said, this is just like an Alibaba one, more or less. I mean, I bought this on eBay because I wanted it a little bit faster, but this brand's available online, and they're not very expensive. They're just a couple $100. So I believe from looking at this, that this is 12 volt operated, R134A, so that's exactly what we need. But it looks like it's a 3-phase AC motor. There's phase cables here, and I'm assuming that this is AC, but that's okay, because, let me just put this next to it, it's heavy. There's a controller that they give you with it. So this controller, essentially, these wires are like really low quality, but hopefully they hold up. I can replace them if anything. These go on the cable, the 3-phase here. So basically, these power wires go into this controller, and then we have DC battery, positive and negative. So that's pretty easy, it's real straightforward. And then this is actually to a fan. So this is gonna be to the AC fan, so I gotta wire that in. I gotta send these to my battery. These are plug and play down here. And then there's also 2 wires here. I believe that one of these was to switch on 12 volt hot, but I read in some documentation, it's really hard to get data for this. So If this works, then I'll definitely be a good resource to explain how the wiring's supposed to work, but I think it needs a 5-volt trigger to turn this on. And from the wiring harness to the compressor from the factory stuff, it's gonna be 12 volt. I'm gonna do like a little resistor, and I'll be able to basically control 12 volts through a resistor, and then it'll activate, like, it said it needed 4.5 to like, 4.5 to 9 volts, I believe. I got a little resistor that like it goes, steps down to 6. So I'm gonna give that a go, and hopefully the air conditioning system will work, but we'll just kind of like play it by ear. But at the moment, this is the current plan. All right, so the engine is actually already out of the car, but I'm gonna give you guys a quick little montage video of that process, and it'll just show you guys me grinding through the last 2 days. It's pretty difficult, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of sucks. There was a lot of stubborn bolts, there was a lot of really gross, nasty oil everywhere because it has 200,000 miles and it's leaking from like every orifice possible. And it was like kind of not fun. Definitely not gonna pretend like it was easy. But the process of me actually pulling it out was pretty cool. What we did was we took off all the suspension components, and then obviously just disconnected everything from the engine, the fuel lines, the cooling lines, the electrical, all that's pretty quick and easy. There's like, 4 coolant lines, there's 3 fuel lines, there's a couple different areas with wiring harnesses. It's really not that bad, but what we did was we just like freed up all the sides, and if you get a clear path, you could tell that it's not connected. There's like an engine subframe girdle, if that makes sense, on these cars. And the whole car just lifted up. So I just hit it with a impact, got the big like 19s and 17 millimeter bolts that are securing that engine subframe to the chassis. I just loosened those up and then just lifted the car up, and then the whole thing just comes out. It's pretty quick and easy to do it that way. I really suggest that if you guys have a lift, it makes the process a lot easier. One thing that I will say, you have to get the transmission out, and then the transmission, I kind of had to crawl under the car. Like before I actually dropped the engine, I zipped off the transmission bolts, so we're almost holding on, like just barely, just holding up the trans at the end just a little bit. And then I was able to crawl under the car and get those, and I dropped it down a couple inches onto like a little padding. And then the whole engine was able to just stay in place and the car comes up. So it was a really easy, quick way of doing it. Also, another thing you guys might notice is it's not actually on the lift right now. So I'm kind of stubborn and like don't think about logical things sometimes. And my guy Dan that works here, I was telling him, I was like, dude, I need to like wheel it outside so I can clean this engine bay. It's so dirty. And then he's like, well, what about that cart? And I'm like, oh shoot, the cart. The cart is actually made for an S2000. I totally forgot. So this cart originally, my Civic has been on it. We put Porsches on it before, but this cart was actually intended to fit the frame rails of an S2000 from a prior project. So it's on that cart right now, so I can actually wheel it around, and I don't need the suspension or wheels on the car. I can take it outside, I can clean the bay. It's gonna work out really well. So I'm not really worrying too much about where I'm spraying. Kind of trying to keep it away from the fuse box, but like it'll dry out. I'm not really too worried about it. So I'm just pretty much spraying everywhere possible just to try to clean it a good amount. And then I'll probably like quick detail the remaining of it, maybe inside. It's pretty hot out here. Leaves, so many leaves. I don't want to take this wiring harness out because then all the little clips are gonna break, and I don't really want to like replace all those. So I'm just gonna like clean around all this stuff. Should work. Oh, look at that, it just like takes it right off. Commercial for Terminator. My friend Mike named this tool Bendy McBenderson because it's all bent. And he's like, how did you manage to bend this? And I had like a pipe and I needed a longer wrench, so I put it over it and then it just like bent it, but it didn't break the ratchet. So this is a really old proto ratchet that my grandfather gave me. So it's definitely like, for a 3/8 drive, it's like pretty good quality. I normally cut these with a blade because you could easily pinch it and just like squash it. So I'd rather, if I ever needed to, replace this hose versus like marring the hell out of that thing. So I normally just slice it, and then I get in here with like a flathead screwdriver, and you can just kind of like lift one side and then lift the other side. And I'm expecting coolant to come out, but it makes it super easy. There's a little bit of coolant in there, but you ruin the hose, but it's like super easy to take off that way. So I know that in the instructions, I have a coolant hose that go right into here, and then there's another one facing forward that should actually, go right into here. So I think this line needs to come off. So one hose is gonna go right in there and the other one's gonna go straight that way. So you'll still use this valve. Ugh. Wasn't that bad. I was expecting way more. All right, this guy's gotta come out. This one, all the way to here. It's been a while since I've taken these covers off. Let's see. So at this current moment, I'm only gonna take this hose off because I'm hoping that this high pressure line right here in the condenser right here, but we'll see what happens, because I'm gonna do the V-mount and it's probably going to go straight against that path. So this is probably gonna have to get relocated, and then this line is either gonna have to get rebent or redone, but I'll kind of cross that when I get to it. I'm gonna just get this low pressure line off first. And I already had all this, what's it called, evacuated. So it's already done. So a little bit of stuff might come out, but it shouldn't be much. So this line is on top of the one I'm trying to get out. So I'm gonna pull this one off first. Pull that guy out. Oh no, it's dripping. That's why I did it outside. Oh shit. Watch yourself. There's a bunch of oil in the AC system, so that oil kind of just drains out like crazy. I'm gonna find something to plug that up with so the oil doesn't just continue to drain out of here. But I'm probably gonna get a special fitting and then convert this to like the AN style. And then I'll run custom hoses for the air conditioning, but I just don't know what that's gonna look like yet. So I'm just kind of putting it back to stock right now to see, kind of cross that path when I get there. This guy didn't survive. No, I think these are like 10 bucks, so we'll get another one of those. All right, I think I want to bring it back inside and like do some detail cleanup. Our S2000 transmission, it's pretty filthy. So what my plan is I'm gonna degrease this, and then I'm gonna put it in the back of my truck. Then I'm gonna go to a car wash place and I'm gonna spray it off. Hopefully that'll solve the problem. Otherwise, I'm not really sure, because I'm not gonna put it back in the car like this. It's like just so bad. The engine was leaking a lot of oil, and that was one of the reasons why I was like pretty ready to get that engine out of there. Yeah, just like a little bit over time, 200,000 miles later, and it's like pretty caked on. So I gotta degrease it and clean it up. And when it's ready to go and clean, then I'll bolt it onto the engine. So I think we got a good amount accomplished today. Got it all cleaned up, got a lot of parts off the car. I'm pretty happy with where we're at. I do want to go through in quick detail and like really clean up the bay a bit more. Just like spot treatment, I'm gonna do that inside the shop. I got it back ready to go on the lift, so I can just more comfortably get into the engine bay. I don't have to like crawl under. Yeah, so I'll be doing that in the meantime. And then also we're starting the wiring harness. I want to do a full episode on the wiring harness and the construction and all the like trials and tribulations on getting a Motec onto this car with the K20C. So that's going to be exciting for me. I love electrical, so explaining all that to you guys is going to be really exciting. Also, next episode, we are probably going to be physically dropping the car onto the engine. So that's next week's episode, so definitely tune in for that one. In the meantime, I'm also going to be cleaning up the transmission and putting the transmission onto the engine and getting that ready to fixture and be underneath our car. And I'll see you guys next time.